The Samsung Galaxy Young 2 is aimed very much at a young crowd. This is ideally a smartphone that you give to your kids to give them access to some apps and to make some emergency calls. It's well designed for that, and it's tough enough to survive the abuse of a rough and tumble life. And for significantly less than £100, if anything does happen to it, it's not the end of the world. The device itself is nice and compact. The skinny jeans found on our nation's young people will not be overly troubled by its bulk, and although it's petite, it's not so small as to be unusable. Again, younger users will get on with it because their fingers are more petite and nimble. The screen is a modest affair with a resolution of just 320 by 480. It can't really compete with most phones, but for a handset that costs just £70, it's really not too bad. It's certainly usable enough, especially when viewed straight on. It's only if you move to a different angle that things become less clear and the screen washes out slightly. For music, you can bolster the built-in limited 4GB of storage by an additional 32GB by microSD. This is well worth doing if you want to use the device as a music player, as there's nowhere near enough storage for even the most modest of music libraries, especially when you consider that the OS and other stuff takes up 2GB, leaving you just 2GB for your own storage of apps, music and photos. The camera is a modest 3.15 megapixels, which gives images of 2048 by 1536. These are pretty average, but for shots that you upload to Facebook and Twitter, they're just about good enough. Video comes in at 480p with 24 frames a second. This is lower than HD quality, but again, for basic capture for Vine and Instagram, it's fine. Despite modest hardware, the interface is nicely designed and there's no real lag when using the OS. The device feels fast enough, and it's running a modern version of Android too, namely KitKat 4.4.2. There are some good features on offer too, like Google Voice Search that go along with Google Now, and you get a pretty good 3G speed too, with downloads at a potential maximum of 21 megabits per second, better than a lot of home broadband. The 1300 mAh battery should get you through the day easily, and with modest screen resolution and a sensible processor, there's no excuse for your children not being contactable at all times. So while the Young 2 isn't going to set the world alight with its power or amazing hardware, it's an ideal phone for those who need a cheap and cheerful device with access to a plethora of apps from the Google Play Store. It would suit those who want an emergency handset for their car or something to give the kids as an emergency phone. It would even suit undemanding users as their main handset.